Good evening, everyone. Um, my name is Olayira Ahmed. I'm the Chief Research Analyst, Forex with Ahmed platform. I thought that I should share some of the things we're telling our clients with you guys. Hopefully, it will be useful to you all going into the new week. Please, before I continue, I will advise us to click the subscribe button so as for you to enjoy our subsequent sentiment analysis that we will be dropping going forward. Um, Thank you very much as you do that. Now, a quick review of last week's market um, activity across board. We saw market favoring more of risk-off sentiment, safe haven assets, safe haven currencies um, gained more strength last week than um, risky currencies. Um, Basically, we from the beginning of last week we started to see a risk-averse mode in the market. This is basically due to the fact that the market is worried about the potential risk of increased inflation and its negative effect on global consumption. Yes. On Thursday was a big one in the market where the ECB showed its willingness to ease at least, you know. But basically, for me, I think this is more of a waiting strategy. This is more of they waiting for the US Fed to move first. I understand this because I understand that they need to do this because of the fact that it helps them to gain some competitiveness in trade. Yes, that's understood. But later on that day, we also saw the US president come on to address um, their willingness to tackle the coronavirus pandemic more. He talked about their planned willingness to increase vaccination both in the US and also across low-income countries. He also talked about the continuing support that they also um, plan to intensify for small businesses, so as for them to be able to um, beef up against the continued impact of the coronavirus pandemic on their respective businesses. Yes, but I think market really is not really focusing on this. What the market really focuses on at the moment is the risk of inflation on global economies. Yes. Um, and I think basically this week serves as a very, very good one for the risk averse people. This week basically is expected to show us more clarity on this topic going forward. In the week, we'll be expecting a lot of CPI numbers and also a lot of consumption numbers, major consumption numbers across board. Some of them basically includes the US CPI on Tuesday. Markets will be expecting to see the CPI numbers. This I think is a big one for the week. Also on Wednesday, the markets will be expecting the Canadian CPI numbers as well, and also the New Zealand GDP numbers. Um, Also going forward into the week, Thursday, the market will also like to see the Australian employment numbers and also the US retail sales numbers. And finally, on Friday, the GBP retail sales numbers and also the US UOM consumer sentiment and inflation expectation numbers will also be coming up. So all this I think will be the major highlights of the week um, for the market. Yes, even though I think that the market will still continue to be risk averse this week, um, market will favor mostly the safe haven currencies like the US dollar, the CHF, the Japanese yen. Yes, um, I would still like to also take my sentiments on a daily basis. You know, to take them on a daily basis. So looking at the first trading day of the week, which will be coming on in few hours time, um, there are quite a few highlights that I expect that should drive the day. Firstly, during the Asian session, I expect the New Zealand FPI numbers, that's the food price index month on month numbers. This number basically I expect it to um, kind of drive activity majorly in the first Asian session of the week. Now the markets basically, personally I do not have the consensus number for that for on this, but I know that in the last recording for the month of July, we had a 1.3% increment in food prices. This time, um, I think that if the number comes out significantly higher from this, then we may see sentiment shift towards the safe haven assets. You know, towards the safe haven assets more. That's the US dollar, the JPY, the CHF, and for this session, I think looking at the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar currency pair, I think is one of the currency pairs most during this time. That should move the most during this time. Yes, and then if the number comes out significantly higher than 1.3% increment, then we may see a situation whereby this pair will basically will move slightly downwards. Yes, but if we see a situation whereby safe haven will be favored to an extent, and as such we'll see a downward momentum on a pair like this. It's expected, so probably maybe it's touching this trend line here, or even try to break below it a little bit. Now basically this pair basically should be a focal pair because of the fact that the Australian economy, it's one of the major destination of New Zealand exports, their neighbors. So in situations like this, in a high inflationary environment, I think the Australian dollar is expected to suffer more than the New Zealand dollar. So that's the. But if that number comes out either below or exactly 1.3 percent, then we may see a situation whereby risky assets will be favored a little bit. So what that means for this pair is that we may see price move upward a little bit. So that's what the expected sentiment means for this pair, right? So another pair basically that I would like us to look at is the SND USD pair. So on this pair basically, we have been seeing for some time now we have been seeing this downward movement on the pair. We're seeing this downward movement on the pair, and I believe that the downward movement basically is an indication of the fact that the market have begun to price in the expected tapering of the US Fed later in the month. Yes, so on a pair like this, we feel that if that number comes out significantly higher, then we should see a downward movement. Sentiment should be a downward for this pair, so we should see some downward move happen on this pair. I don't know to what extent, but that's basically what the impact should be. But if the number is either below 1.3% or maybe exactly 1.3%, then we may see an upward sentiment for this pair. So I think it is important for you to have an idea of what direction, the outcome of that news should be for these two pairs that I've shown to you right now. There are more pairs, that we're showing to our clients at the moment as I speak right now, but I just feel these two should be shared here too. There are quite a lot of them that should move to during this the upcoming Asian session. Yes, so that's that on the New Zealand dollar US dollar pair two. Also, later in the day, later in the day, the market will also be expecting um, a we're also expecting the WPI numbers on the German economy. This number basically is a number that measures the increase in price of goods sold by wholesalers, to retailers and consumers. So basically, this number I think is a big one for the European session and also the American session. So I think it will drive sentiment during this time. So if the consensus basically for that number basically is 0.8%. So if you have an increment that's significantly higher than 0.8%, then we should expect to see a downward sentiment on the Euro USD. Yes, but if price decide if the number basically comes out below or maybe exactly 0.8%, then probably we may see sentiments move in the upper direction. So that's that on the Euro USD. They're quite, like I told you earlier, there's still quite a lot more charts that would have shown you, but because of time, I would not be able to, do that now. So this I think is going to be the nature of sentiment movement, nature of sentiment for the first trading day of the week. Yes, yes. Yes, and that's all for now. Thank you very much. Before I leave, I would also like to advise you again to click the subscribe button so that you can always get promptly videos whenever they drop. Thank you very much.